Hello, Donna Kato here. Welcome to my studio and welcome to my channel. Now, this tutorial today I wasn't going to release because there's a problem. And the problem is not the clay, it's not the pencil, it is the sealer. This is PIM 2. Now, they don't make this anymore, okay? I have 2 cans of this, maybe the last 2 cans on the planet. Anyway, it is a great sealer. It's an aerosol, and that's the problem with a lot of aerosols. You spray it on clay, and there's something in the propellant, something that reacts with the clay, and then it just gets sticky and icky, and it doesn't work at all. Not PIM 2. Okay, so I'll show you how good it is. This is a bracelet I made. It's black clay, black Kato poly clay, and then colored pencil on the surface, and then I sprayed it with PIM 2 several coats, and look, I mean, I've worn it, and bracelets get an awful lot of abuse. So this preservative sealer is really good. Anyway, I love the technique. I absolutely love it. But it really only works if you have a good sealer. I wasn't going to show it because obviously the best sealer I feel is no longer even being made. But you know, I'm going to show it because maybe we crowdsource our information and somebody out there says, oh, you know what? I know what'll work. And then you try it and it works and it seals the pencil and the pieces don't get sticky, and then you tell us all. Okay? So that is my hope. In all the wide world, there has to be something that works. Now, Ginger Davis Allman over at Blue Bottle Tree has a nice little article. There are several products that she talks about, but once again, they're hard to get. They're very... Okay, I can't say absolutely they're hard to get, but they strike me as hard to get because this in and of itself is not the easiest product. It cannot fly. So it has to travel by ground, right? Because it's an aerosol. They don't want to load up planes with this stuff. So it's a bit of a problem. Now, I will do more experimentation because maybe very light coats of liquid clay will do the same thing. I do know that if you put too much on, you run the risk of blurring and melting the pencil. So that would have to be done very carefully, but I'm going to give that a try. But in the meantime, everybody put your thinking caps on. And if you come up with any solutions, tell all of us. So let's get started. I love this technique and it breaks my heart. Hello, Donna Kato here. Welcome to my studio. Welcome to this tutorial on colored pencils and clay. You know, this is the second time I'm shooting it because I said goodbye and came back twice because I kept remembering things. So I thought, oh, that's not going to do. I'm just going to have to do the whole thing over again. So it makes sense. So anyway, this is in response to a request or comment that is literally 9 months old. 9 months ago, I was just concentrating on getting tutorials up, and that was really hard enough, and so I kind of neglected the comments, so I'm trying to catch up, and then I see this comment today. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. Now, I am using my favorite pencils, which are Caran d'Ache Luminance, and these were a gift to me when I was in Switzerland, and I absolutely love these pencils. They're like really creamy, and they're just beautiful, and they're light fast, 85%. So they're very precious to me. So that's what I'm going to be using. That is not to say they are the only pencils that will work. They are quite costly. So these will also work Prismacolor. Derwent Studio. These will also work. Okay. So I'm not here to tell you that these are the only ones that will work and you have to go out and spend your hard-earned cash on the best pencils basically in the world. Now, these pencils, if you draw on paper, these are amazing too. So you can make a judgment as to what you want to use. Okay, so this particular pattern is like a non-pattern. It's just strokes of colored pencil on a black form. So I have this black Inyo box I made. It's a 3-parter. And it's so far from perfect. I think it might be the perfect thing to actually use this particular technique for. I have a blemish here. I've tried sanding that away. I can't. I cracked it. It's not structurally unsound. It just has a crack. So I can cover that up. Let's do that. Let me just do that center section. These individual pieces, they line up pretty well, but it's not a perfect, invisible kind of seam. So also, you know, a pattern like this is so visually confusing. I mean, it's simple, but it's visually confusing, so it's a little harder to see exactly where the splits are. So anyway, there's that. You're going to need your pencils. You're, of course, going to need a sharpener. And, of course, you need this. You also need a sealer, and we will cover that later. Now, what I tend to do is layer from dark to light. And then, finally, I may put these very light colors on the surface. So let's begin with this nice, rich green. Okay. Now, not all pencils work. Now, even though you're not seeing much of this, you can see the actual lines. Okay, it's so close. It's so dark, and of course I'm working on black. But I like putting down a base of some color. And what will happen is as you're working, the colors you put on after, they start to blend together, okay? Now, these pencils have a really nice creamy kind of texture and feel, but that also means that they mix quite easily to each other on the surface of the form, which can be a good thing if you're going to shade. But if you want to keep the colors separate and you want to see the strokes as individual lines, then you probably have to be a little more careful about that. And I have found that I'm using fewer strokes with a Caran d'Ache than I use with, let's say, Prismacolor. Okay, now I'm going to move on to, let's do this, move this. Now, I'm not doing a very good job of covering that seam. So I'm going to continue working. Also, one of my problems here, clearly, is that I didn't clean it, and that's why it's white, right? If I had scrubbed it out, then I think I might have eliminated it. It would be then a black seam instead of a seam the color of the clay I sanded off the surface. And I'm building up quite a bit of pencil on the surface. Okay, now let's take this light color. Let's give that a go. And what will happen when you build up a lot of pencil and it's blending too much to itself on the surface, it's harder to see. The strokes are not separate and distinct from each other because you're literally blending the colors together. Okay, and I am getting at that point where I'm literally blending these colors together. So if I were to do white at this point, it might not even really show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a little sealer. Okay, now what I'm using is called PIM2, PYM2, Preserve Your Memories 2, and it is an all-purpose sealer, paper, polymer clay, inkjet, Copic markers, metal, and it's UV protected, which makes it really good for us, right? So I'm going to have to step away and spray it down. But what this will do is it creates a barrier between that layer of pencil and the next one that I'm going to apply. So I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Now I sprayed, I would say 2 very, very light coats on. The stuff dries almost instantaneously. Now, whenever you use a spray like this, you want to, and even painting, I guess it's better to apply many light coats than it is one great big old heavy coat. Okay, so basically now I've created that barrier between that pencil and the pencil I'm going to put on the surface now. So let's take the turquoise. So now the pencil is not blending to the pencil below. And you can really see the individual strokes much more clearly. And I think what would have happened is these strokes would have just disappeared right into that base of colored pencil. Okay, so there you go. That's on the top. Let's take this light orangey color. Now, all the pencils are not the same opacity either. Just like clay, all clays are not equally opaque or translucent. That has to do with pigments. It has to do with a lot of things. Any color that has a lot of white, like this, is going to be more opaque. Okay, now let me apply the white to the surface. Now, I could spray in between again. Let's say the second layer I build up, I put so much on again that it's starting to blend to itself. Well, okay, there's a solution there. If you don't like what you do, you can also sand everything off and start again. But in a case like this, if I thought that this white colored pencil was just going to disappear into what I've just done, then I would spray it again. And as I said, light coats. It's just like the lightest coat is going to protect the pencil on the box from the pencil you apply. Okay, so if it's not showing up enough for me, but this is fine. It's showing up fine. Then, as I said, I would simply take it back and spray it again. Now, finally, of course, I have to spray. Okay, so just so you can see what this looks like when it's just on clay that has no, see? So in this case, of course, I'm putting it over other pencil. You're seeing the pencil underneath, but also it's kind of blending to what I just did with the turquoise and with the orange. Okay, so I'm going to take off the top. I'll show you, just sand it off. And even if you've sealed it, you can sand it off. Okay, so let me go spray. But first I'm going to brush it lightly just to get any pencil off. And I will be back. Okay, so I sprayed, and I think I'm going to add some more white. And then I'll simply spray it again. And that white shows up quite a bit more because of that separation. So just remember to use your sealer as a means of creating yourself a fresh, sort of like a fresh canvas to work on. Okay, let me spray it again. Okay, so here's what I just did, and here is the original. Now I can see the original has strokes that are much thicker, and they're not as smooth as the one on the left, the one I just did. Now, it's not really a fair comparison. I think I did this with Prismacolor. I have many pencil colors, and I'm rather limited in my Caran d'Ache set. I have plenty of pencils, but not quite as many as I have in the Prismacolor. Also today, it looks like I used more of that limey green in here, so it's not really a good comparison, but I really love these pencils. Okay, so thank you for watching. I hope you take your colored pencils and you use them freely on your clay. It's really not a technique that's very threatening because you can always sand off what you don't like and start again. So that's it. I'm not coming back. I think I got everything in that I needed to, except my cute little poop pencil sharpener. And that's it for this fine Saturday morning. So thank you very much for watching, and have a great day. Bye.